Welcome to Blade HQ, everybody. Today's an extremely special day because I'm here with my friend Dave from ProTech.
Hi, George.
Hi, Dave. It's good to see you. And today, he's going to help us along the way for a ProTech buyer's guide. If you're in the market for a ProTech, stay tuned. So, Dave, we've done a lot of videos together over the years, but we haven't yet done a true, definitive ProTech buyer's guide. Who is ProTech? How do you guys function? And what sort of knives do you make?
Happy to talk about it, George.
Well, we're happy to have you on. So, to start things off, ProTech is 25 years old this year.
Yes, a big anniversary for us.
Yeah, which is probably the biggest knife brand that I am older than.
Nice.
So, that makes me feel good inside.
Excellent.
Yeah, but tell me how you got started.
So I think some of you may have heard the stories or seen some of the other Blade HQ videos that we've done, but I was lucky enough to grow up around the knife business. My dad and my uncle owned and operated Ross Cutlery. It's a real flagship cutlery store downtown Los Angeles.
My understanding is your cousin operates it now.
Correct, yeah, so it's still in the family. My cousin Jennifer and her husband run it today, and grew up around the cutlery business and always appreciated it, always liked it, and lucky enough to go places with my dad, to go to the SHOT Show. As a kid, I even traveled to Germany with my dad, and we visited the Boker factory. And so I was exposed to it young and always liked it a lot. At my dad's store, when I was little, and I'd help do different things, make price tags and sweep and clean up and whatnot, tag along on the weekends, if you will. My pay oftentimes at the end of the weekend would be to pick something from the store, a little compass or a little Swiss Army knife or something, and that would be my pay. And when I got a little bit older, I had my eye set on this one case in the store, and it was these old vintage switchblades. And they were Italian and American made, like Prestos and old school stilettos and everything. And I remember very specifically, Dad, how many weekends do I have to work for one of those? And he slapped my hand and said, you don't have that many weekends. Like, those are off limits, absolutely not. And so, anyway, I always enjoyed it, and then, did school and college and all that normal stuff. And when I graduated from college, I moved to Colorado, and I was, some of you already know, middle school teacher and had a few other different jobs, but as a sideline, started buying and selling knives, mostly brands I was familiar with from my dad, and I had a company at that point called The Finer Points. And I was a knife dealer, a purveyor. I bought and sold a lot of custom knives, a lot of factory knives. I was doing gun shows, knife shows, that sort of thing. And so I used that to do this little side hustle, The Finer Points. And this is like the mid-90s or so. And being out in front of the public almost every weekend at a show, I had a lot of feedback from people. I'd bring my selection out, and people were asking for specific things over and over again. And at that time, there was a lot of interest in automatic knives, mid-90s or so. And there were only a few on the market. And so ProTech was born from customer demand. Me being out at the shows and people asking for things, different size automatics, different styles that no one was making. And finally, I heard it so much, I thought I should try it.
I can be the change here. I can do it.
Yeah, and so the first batch of knives, everything was outsourced. I had one machine shop make handles, a different guy make blades, and then my dad and I put them together at home on my kitchen table, sharpened them by hand. My mom cleaned them and boxed them. And so when we say family business, we really mean it. And that was how it started. So at the beginning, I had a couple of head starts, like obviously growing up around the knife business, and then the Finer Points foundation before ProTech, all of those customer interactions, all of that feedback with the people that were buying knives, I feel like it gave me a lot of information, and it gave me a really good head start in being a cutlery company that's demand driven and trying to deliver things that people are asking for.
Yeah, I think that's really true, because I see a lot of people who are like, hey, you should make this ProTech, because people comment on our videos. And I'm like, 9 times out of 10, that ProTech already exists, because you've heard the same feedback at the show 1,000 times.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, recently, my friend Ben Peterson, you've met him.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah, he said a line in one of his shows that I want to compare to a line I've heard from you. He said, it has never been easier to make a knife, but it has never been harder to sell a knife. But I've heard Dave say, I've always found it much harder to make knives than sell knives. Why is that?
I think it comes from that foundation, like knowing and listening to what people want, being in front of the customers as much as possible. I like to say, and I like to think, that we don't design in a vacuum. We design and focus our attention on our next projects based on what people are asking for first. And of course, I have my preferences, my team has their preferences, but we put a lot of focus and a lot of attention on what folks are asking for first.
And sometimes they ask for challenging things.
They do. And if you think about it, that's how the company was born. Was from people asking for things that no one was making. That is literally our foundation. And even though today we have a great network of dealers like Blade HQ, we have international dealers and all that great stuff, but we still attend 11 or 12 trade shows a year. And the main reason for that is not to sell the knives. The main reason for that is to interact with the people and to see, like, if we've made 2 or 3 different things, you put them out to the people and you see how they respond. Which one lights them up? Which one do they say, wow, after they push the button? And then you know that's the winner and you move forward. It's a unbelievably powerful thing to get the feedback from the customers. Not only does it make for better knives, but it's my favorite part of the business. And so it really works out great. Like, it's my favorite part, and I believe it's the thing that makes us who we are.
Well, I love it. So the first knife you ever made was the Runt, right?
Correct.
And you've riffed on it for years. Now we have the Runt 5.
Yes.
In fact, I'll grab one right here.
Yep. Yeah, and so this is a great example, right? I'm doing a lot of shows in Colorado and then also California. And at that time, and still true today, sub 2-inch auto, under 2-inch blade is legal in California. So a lot of customer demand, but very little supply. And so, yeah, people asked for it and I decided to build it. And so the first Runts, again, at home on the kitchen table. And then all these years later, we've got Magna Cut and aluminum handles that were made on our robotic cell. Quite the evolution, a deep carry pocket clip.
From the kitchen counter.
A long, long ways, yeah. And the Runt is still a very flagship knife in our line. It's kind of amazing now that we fit that 25-year mark, how many different models we've been making for 20 plus years. Godfathers, Godsons, Runts, TR3s, TR1s and 2s. Like, we have a core group of products that really have been selling well for a quarter of a century.
It's really impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, and one thing I will say that I've noticed about ProTech is you guys are trendsetters.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the big trends that I've seen, we're going to talk about the other big one, which is the button lock manual. That one's all your fault. But the other one is this pocket clip. You were the first people I ever see to do a nested pocket clip with nested screws, so it's just a clean in and out. I feel like everybody's trying to do that nowadays,
yes.
But we're all just catching up to ProTech.
I love you too.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of those other models that you've been making for 25 plus years.
Yeah, so one of the, so we start out with Runts and TR1s and 2s, and again, especially in those early days of ProTech, especially when it was a little bit ProTech and still the finer points and kind of a blend of those two things, in those years I was doing 30 shows a year. I mean, I was—
Were you ever at home?
Very rarely. And so, again, you got the TR1 and 2, and what did customers ask for? We want something with a little bit bigger blade. We want something with this and that. And so the TR3 was born literally from the feedback on our TR1s and 2s, listening to the customers. And when we prototype something, we pass it around the shop. Everyone in the building has their input. And then the next thing we do is we bring the early prototypes out to shows, put them in front of the customers, like how they see the knife. The first generation, the first prototypes, very much dictates some of the changes that we make. Like, for our own production, we'll streamline some things to make them easier to assemble and that sort of stuff. But I'll tell you what, there is no substitute for taking them out and getting the feedback from the public.
Yeah, and a lot of knife companies just aren't doing that. Like, the first time the public sees anything is when they release a full-fledged product that has 10,000 pieces. But I love that you guys take simple prototypes and you show them off.
Yep.
In fact, I remember last year you showed up with a prototype of a knife that's now on the table, and I was like, hey, this is really nice, but this, I'm not sure. And I didn't realize, I thought you were just showing off stuff because we were friends, but I think you were doing R&D. You were showing everybody in the building, and you wanted feedback.
Yes, we do. Yes,
you wanted
please.
to make it perfect.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we're chasing it. It's no one will ever make an actually perfect knife, but we try to chase it every day.
Yeah, and all that takes is just paying attention to the finer points.
Nice.
I'll see myself. Just kidding. Yeah, but the first knives at Blade HQ, by the way, were ProTechs. The first knives ever published.
Warms my heart.
Yep, and the first one we ever posted was a Godson. And it looks like we have a Godson, that's in the first dress up this way for this year anyway, and Blade HQ has been around a long time, and so is the Godson, but it's still somehow new.
It's a great piece. So this one's a solid aluminum frame, abalone push button, and then a sapphire blue coated blade. It's a very special coating. It is a commercial grade coating that's super corrosion resistant and strong. It also happens to be gorgeous.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen like a drill bit this color once
Correct.
upon a time.
Yep.
Is that a similar thing going on?
It is. It is. It's a zirconium nitrate based coating, super, super strong and beautiful. Whenever you coat something, it amplifies the surface finish that's already on it. So this one's been lovingly satin finished, then sapphire blue coating. So that's why it really pops, is you've got the satin underneath there.
All right, so I'll tell you what I want to do now.
Uh-oh.
I want to get a ProTech that has a Mike Erie hand grind mirror finished with the sapphire on top.
See, customer feedback. That's what I'm saying.
That would be such an expensive
The George
knife,
special.
My goodness.
Do I have to pay your royalties?
Probably not.
Okay.
That one's all you, man.
All right.
From me to you.
You just get the first one.
Deal.
Okay.
But yeah, the Godson is sort of the mini Godfather. Which
Correct.
one came first?
The Godfather, the 4-inch
Okay.
blade one in 2001.
And then the Godson came along. And
2 years later, yeah.
And I can't help but see a little bit of those Grail knives on the wall at Ross Cutlery in this guy.
Of course, of course. Circle of life, right? The little boy who couldn't have one and then makes his own, yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet you this one's way better than those ones ever were.
But yes.
Probably.
Yeah, that's a lot of weekends.
A lot of weekends. But yeah, what I love about these is how needle-like the point is.
It is, but also this false edge is specifically ground nice and thick. So of course that's not a hard use knife, and everything you're not supposed to do with a pocket knife goes double for these, but we get shockingly few of them back with broken tips, mainly because of the very careful design of that top swedge.
Yeah, okay, now I'm curious. I'm not a knife maker, but you are. Does adding a swedge like that create like a diamond-shaped cross-section that's a little harder to break?
It does, yeah, especially when it's flat ground like these are, and then in that geometry. And it's so funny. We gave a factory tour the other day to some kids and their teachers and everything, and the teachers loved every minute of me talking about the blade geometry. They're like, "See, kids, you use math at work," and so I'm thinking about them a lot as I say this. But yeah, that geometry there, it gives you the look of a stiletto, but it actually gives you a lot of strength at the top edge there.
Man, and it probably pierces like nothing else.
Forget about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I were a police officer or something and I wanted to carry something that could puncture really
Plan
well,
B type knife, yeah.
Plan B type knife, sign me up.
Yeah.
Because it's got enough guard that if I'm holding on, I'm not going to slide up, but
Yeah, the
help whoever's on the
Godfather
other
and
end.
Godson series really are a fantastic expression of that classic Italian stiletto, the knife I couldn't have when I was a kid, but made with aircraft aluminum, 154, modern manufacturing. It really is the blend of the spirit of that old stiletto knife, but made modern.
I love that. And then you guys have been very busy ever since. And like we talked about the TR3 a little bit, but there's a knife that came along, I want to say in 2020, 2021-ish, and its name was Malibu.
Yes.
And I love the Malibu. I have one, it's great. But I have a little bit of beef with this.
Okay.
Ever since the Malibu came out, all I see is button lock manuals. And everybody is chasing the Malibu Dragon of perfect tune detent. Look at this. Look at this.
It's like butter.
You do not find that on very many knives. And then it locks up perfectly solid, of course. And this one has a Magna Cut blade, so all the things. Tell me about the project here.
So we felt and we knew that there was some pent-up demand for non-auto ProTechs, and we had made a couple. We made the Cambria, which was our first button lock flipper. It was a very good knife, but a little ahead of its time. And then we did a really neat collaboration with the Ferrum Forge folks, the Mordax knife. And as we built from the Cambria to the Mordax and then the Malibu, we kept tinkering and kept perfecting everything about it. And during the Mordax cycle and then right into the Malibu, we really did as close to perfectly nail the button lock thing as it can be, I believe. And the Malibu was the right knife at the right time, and there was a lot more of that pent-up demand for a non-auto ProTech than I ever would have imagined. Like it's been a phenomenal success for us. The size is great, the action is impeccable. It's 70-75 aircraft grade aluminum, Magna Cut, Earlier, they were 20 CV, so premium steel across the board, the deep carry clip, and really that, ultimately one-handed, feel for the open and the close, as smooth as could be. It's a home run for us. I'm super proud of it. It's a great knife in our lineup.
Yeah, I love the Malibu. And I always have it out at my desk because I have ADHD, and this is way cooler than any fidget spinner ever has been in the history of the world.
Nice.
But yeah, I love what you guys have done with these button locks. And everybody's chasing that dragon, but you guys have stayed ahead of it because this year you took that TR3, which might be the best design of a pocket knife I've ever seen, and you made it a manual.
Yes.
So all of your California friends can have one too.
Exactly, or even folks who don't prefer autos. And so, yeah, we've taken the TR3, which again is a 22-year-old model in the line. It's a perennial seller for us, one of our flagship knives. The TR3 is the model we've sold the most to police and military over the years. We're fortunate enough to do a lot of work with very elite law enforcement and military professionals, and they love the TR3. So we took all of that legacy, all of that success of 20 plus years of design, and then used the Malibu type mechanism with the tuned detent, the super smooth action. We added a dual thumb stud, and basically took all of that, the history of our best-selling auto, and the success of the Malibu, and rolled it into a new model. So this is our TR3 Integrity Manual. They're rolling out with S35, 6061 aluminum. Of course, as we do these knives, you'll see all the variations. We'll see, well, we've already done stainless steel frames. So this is 17.4 full hardened stainless. This is the feel of steel. This thing's like a tank. And this is actually the exact variation that we won Blade Magazine 2024 American Made Folder of the Year award for. So as an auto knife company, to come in with a new manual action knife and win that award was really special for us.
Well, you knocked it out of the park. And let me tell you, in heaven, all thumb studs are this thumb stud. Oh. And I'll tell you why. So first of all, I was just doing this with a micrometer. I have a significantly shorter right thumbnail than left thumbnail.
I can verify this is true.
Because I've played with so many thumb studs.
Yeah.
My job is to talk about knives on the internet, and I have to sort of hold them and sort of let you guys project your hand onto mine and experience the knife. Because
someone's got to do it.
So many thumb studs. And I will tell you, a lot of thumb studs have a few problems. One, they are pointy. They dig into your thumb and they bruise you over time, which is why a lot of people who fidget use flippers.
Yep.
But this one is not that way. And then also sometimes they're slippery and you have to really get in right between your thumbnail to make it work. But these ones, I don't know how you did it, but you left fairly sharp corners on there, but they're close together. It's not going to hurt your
just
thumb.
Enough of a bite to give you a very good flip, but not so much to hurt your finger. It is really a perfect thumb stud.
Yeah, I can come with the pad of my thumb, and I don't have quite enough leverage behind it, but it grips, it breaks the detent.
Yeah.
And I could do that all day long and never have any problem with my thumb.
I love it.
It's the perfect thumb stud, Dave.
Thank you.
And I imagine user feedback. You probably handed 1 million people a thumb stud.
We did. And again, like if you think about that foundation of ProTech, how we were born by customer feedback. So the TR3, very carefully designed based on feedback from the TR1 and 2, launched 22 years ago, built over the years in a gazillion variations, and then such a solid design that we were able to turn it into another brand new model and introduce the manual version. It really speaks to, I think, the magical relationship that we have with our customers, where they'll comfortably tell us what they think, and they know that we're actually going to listen. Yeah.
And I love that. And another thing I love about ProTech is instead of making a gajillion different knife models and then throwing them at the wall and seeing what sticks, you take the time to make sure that every knife model is great.
Thank you.
And then it's like, it's a melody, and now you're going to riff on it for like a million years or 25 years.
Yep.
And the TR3 is still a super popular knife, but I mean, we have 4 different flavors of it on the table today.
So automatic, manual, stainless, titanium. So this is an ultimate custom TR3 auto with a titanium frame that's been hand engraved by Bruce Shaw, a 1/4 ounce gold bullion coin, Damas steel Damascus, just an extraordinary, one of a kind. This one's got a really neat anodizing tone. It might be hard to pick up on the camera, but it's kind of a seafoam green. I love the way that gold pops against that green. But this is a one-off piece that we brought for Blade West this weekend. We've built as many TR3s as we have over the years, and still the artists in my building will come up with something that I've never seen and the customers get to experience for the first time.
Yeah, and I really like that because it's an established platform. You know you're going to get a great knife from a great company, but it still is a breath of fresh air. It's something new and interesting.
Well, and we appreciate that when people come to a knife show, they've taken time out of work possibly or some other family dynamic. They could have invested that time into a bunch of different activities or things, but if they've chosen to carve out the time and come and see us at a show, we owe them product at the show that's unique and different and special, and we're proud to deliver it.
Man, you do such a good job. But
Thanks.
that doesn't just apply to TR3s. That applies to all kinds of models.
Oh yeah, we do it with everything. So our TR2, which is another knife that's definitely back to the kitchen table days, one of the very first designs. We introduced a 25th anniversary of that that's very special. It says since 1999 on the back. Sapphire blue, abalone, special texture. So again, taking a 25-year-old knife and making it new again. We also added the new deep carry pocket clip, upgraded the steel to Magna Cut. So some of our very original customers who own a TR2 that I built on the kitchen table could come back and see us this weekend and buy a brand new TR2 and see that full circle.
It's really impressive.
Thank you.
How many of your knives have that kind of staying power? Like, I'm thinking of the other brands we carry at Blade HQ. Very few have one that lasts 25 years. Yeah. And I don't think there's a single one that has 10 that lasts 25 years.
I'll take some of the credit happily, but I give most of it to us being so connected to our customer base, and that relationship, that special bond that we have with our people is what makes the difference.
Yeah, and another thing that you guys have a special bond with is the makers.
Yes.
And like I'm looking here, we have this guy. This is a Terzuola.
Yep.
The ATCF. This might be my favorite ProTech auto.
It's a very special piece for us. So yeah, Bob Terzuola, iconic custom knife maker, extraordinary human being, very proud of that collaboration. And so yeah, the old Finer Points days when I was buying and selling custom knives, I built relationships with makers. Whiskers, Mike Allen, Mike Erie, a lot of different people were in my universe at that time. And I'm so proud of the fact that we built relationships that are still in place today, where 28 years ago, I was buying and selling their handmade knives, but now we're doing a collaboration together. This one's actually kind of an amazing one because not only is it a Terzuola design, but it's a Mike Erie hand-ground blade on a Terzuola. So you've got a couple of relationships that predate ProTech merged together in a knife that we're selling this weekend. These are people that I've known. Next year, I'm pretty sure it'll be 30 years. So people that I've known for more than half my life that all came together decades later to build something that a customer can walk up and buy from us this weekend.
Man, and I guess that just speaks to your ProTech's ability to not only build relationships with people like customers, but also with suppliers and nurture them for years and years and years.
Yes,
I had a favorite customer when I worked at Meter's Bakery and Cafe, but I haven't talked to him in years.
Right. Yeah, it is something, and sometimes people will ask, what's the secret, or how did you do it, or whatever, and it really is all the relationships. And thankfully, we are very good at it, and I'm very proud of my team. I watch the younger people at the company follow in my footsteps as far as building relationships and whatever. It's fantastic. I'm very proud of the knives that we build, but the relationships and those things with our customers, with the designers, it's the most valuable thing we have.
I agree. That's what makes a company great, is the people, not necessarily the product. But it helps when the product is this good.
So some other kind of neat things that we're doing in the building, and I think it's an evolution of all that. So one of our knives that's a very nice gentleman's auto is the Newport. It's a great knife. It's a 3-inch blade, very slender, very lightweight. It's really the perfect auto knife to carry if you're wearing a nicer trouser or a dress pant, partly because of the size and shape and thinness of it, but partly because it's not tactical and it won't sort of scare people out of the office if you open an envelope with it. So this is a really neat couple of examples of one-of-a-kind Newports that we're bringing to Bled West this weekend, where we let some of our young machinists kind of go crazy and have some fun. So this one is a one-of-a-kind piece that was made with scrap of different pearl and different things. One of our junior machinists wrote his first program to cut the pieces, and then the other one lovingly, painstakingly glued them together to make this one-of-a-kind inlay. And then this one is special wood where the wood had a void in it. We filled it with epoxy. And so this one we've named at the shop, it's the Newport model. We call this one the Newport Beach because it has kind of a wave feature to it. And so we like to see the young folks in the building grow and learn and not just machine the same thing over and over again, but to try some new things. So what an extraordinary thing to have a learning experience and then have a one-of-a-kind item to sell as a result of it. So investing back in our people and enjoying the fruits of that being a knife that we get to show off and sell.
Yeah, and this is a great resume piece. If this person is pursuing a career as a machinist, say, look at this amazing mother of pearl chessboard I made or whatever. Like, no one else can say that.
Yes, and would it be easier to just call someone up overseas and have them make our knives and not fuss with all that? Of course it would, but that's not how we do it. We're investing in USA manufacturing all the time. We've bought a ton of new equipment, hired new people, and invested in a true American-made brand. It's another thing I'm extraordinarily proud of.
And then it looks like we have one more Newport over here, but this one I'm going to open very gently.
Yes, nice. So this is a Bottega Incensione engraved Newport. So this one's traveled the world. You've got desert ironwood, Vegas forged Damascus, spectacular, and then aerospace grade titanium. We actually buy that as aerospace overrun in large sheets. So it literally is the same titanium for aerospace, precision machine, hand satin finished, then disassembled, and we send those handles to Brescia, Italy, where they're hand engraved by a team of craftsmen and women that have been doing that type of engraving for decades at least. They return it back, and then we inlay it, finish it, and at the show, and again another opportunity for us to have our people in the building build a variety of things. We give them back the engraved parts and the blades and a variety of inlays and then let them go crazy. So at the show, I think we brought about 10 of these, but each one is different. A different color, a different inlay, a different treatment. And so when you come up to our booth or you shop Blade HQ and your question is what's new, there's always a ProTech to answer that question.
Man, it's like the old Barnum Circus. If you haven't seen it recently, you haven't seen it at all.
Yeah.
Like it's a living system that's always making something new.
Yeah, and then other, the Oligarch, which is a Dmitry Sinkovich design, a fairly new knife in our line that's doing great. That came from a custom knife show a number of years ago where Dmitry was my neighbor and we just happened to start chatting about knives. He bought a couple of our knives and he started carrying one, which was amazing. And
which led to a relationship.
Led to a relationship, which I thankfully learned from my parents how to nurture and keep them for a long time. And so, yeah, we turned that into a knife design. And so super proud to have a Dmitry Sinkovich piece in the lineup. Great knife, one of my favorite knife makers. And so, yeah, old relationships, new relationships, and an amazing variety of knives.
Yeah, this last year for Blade Show, I think you actually won an award for the Oligarch.
Oh yes, with the
custom,
lion and the
engraving.
Lion. Yeah,
we're gonna flash that up on screen right here. It is the most gangster knife I have ever seen. It's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, those Blade Award investor collector knives, they have to be limited to a number of 10 units, and so we've only had 2. We had the original one. With the second one, all 10 spaces are reserved. We've sold all 10. And the last 1 or 2 might be 5 years from now. It might be quite a wait. And so it is a really amazing thing to build at that level and then have people so excited about it that they'll put the name on a list, put a deposit down, and then wait years to get a hold of it. It's very humbling to make something that someone feels that strongly about. Yeah.
All right, and this is a lot of awesome stuff, but you guys are working on a lot of stuff for the future as well.
We are. We have a number of really neat projects happening. So years ago, my friends at Blade HQ talked me into something way outside of my normal range, and they talked me into building a butterfly knife. It was known as the Fly Father. And so we built a group of those some number of years ago, and it's been kind of a ProTech unicorn since. And we're not really butterfly knife folks. But a really good friend of mine, Lucas at Squid Industries, nice.
I'm not nearly as good as Lucas.
Oh, nobody is. I won't even pretend. And so he and I were talking, and again, another neat relationship, friendship that's turned into a thing. So I said, hey, what about a Fly Father? It would be really neat to reboot it. And so this is a very unique collaboration for he and I in that we've both machined and made parts for it. So the blade, laser cutting, heat treating, grinding, satin finishing, and sharpening, all done in the ProTech facility.
Because that blade sure looks an awful lot like that knife you've been making for 25 years.
Exactly. And so the spirit of a Godfather, Godson, it's a bigger blade, so more of a Godfather, hence the Fly Father moniker. And so Lucas designed and built and machined the handles, and then his team, since they're experts in flipping butterfly knives, do all the assembly and tuning. And so it really is a true two-company collaboration, not just in design, but in actual manufacturing. Two people crazy enough to make this sort of thing in the US, let alone in California, combining forces. And so, yeah, the Fly Father 2 is something brand new. We'll roll out a few early pieces this weekend at Blade West, and then you can look forward to future productions coming up.
Yeah. I love how we have a pocket clip.
Yep.
Which, that seems like a throwback to the Fly Father a little bit.
Yes.
But I don't think I've ever seen a squid with a pocket clip. Maybe there has been, I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, so our deep carry pocket clip, Lucas's fantastic design, his expertise in the handle and the flipping and all the ergonomics there. So what we do best on the blade, what he does best on the handle. Very exciting, great new knife, fun to bring the Fly Father back.
And then I'm looking over there, and I see what looks like a Chaves.
Yes, and so someone I've admired and really enjoyed his custom knife building for a long time is Chaves, and he and I had talked for a number of cycles about doing a thing together, and this is such an exciting release. So the Redencion Chaves piece turned into an auto, of course, by us, and so these early prototypes, I don't know if anyone's done this before, but I'm stoked on it. We're going to have at Blade West Mike Erie hand ground prototypes, and Chaves himself will have his own prototypes that he ground, and so we'll introduce them simultaneously at our booths.
Dude, what a collector piece.
Right? And so I'm super excited about it. This is something that, of course, we'll give the full ProTech treatment to as far as building. We'll build aluminum models with regular flat ground blades, eventually custom pieces and all the rest of it. And then these will be distributed through the Chaves channels, but you'll see it at Blade HQ, of course. But a fantastic knife. He's a great guy, and I'm thrilled to be working with him. Yeah.
Yeah, so for you Chaves nerds out there, this one falls between the size of the Redencion 229 and the Redencion Street. It's right in the middle, and in my preference, it is the perfect size.
Yeah, it really is. And
just right.
Of course, we got the clips directly from him, so you've got that perfect Chaves skull clip, a very nice size. The action on these is unbelievable. Our superior coil springs are known, but this one,
thumps.
oh, it's so
Here,
satisfying.
watch my arm jiggle.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Very exciting.
Yep.
And then, is that a Vero clip I see?
It is a Vero clip. So Joseph Vero, again, a knife maker that we really like and enjoy.
Great hair and great knives.
Seriously, right? Anyway, yeah, so this is a very early prototype. Couple things. So hand ground blade, just prototype. And then you'll notice this burgundy top. So in our lineup, we do a fair share of knives where we use a thicker aluminum base with a micarta lid. We've done it on SBRs and a few other different models, and I really like the build. It gives you a ton of options for the top. You've probably seen some of the ones with the unique micarta, and also the natural, and then the Ultim, and those sort of things.
Right in Blade HQ's wheelhouse.
Yes. I know where I'm at. And so this type of construction, it allows us to make just one aluminum part, and all of the mechanics, the pivot, the button, the threads for the screws are in metal. And then on the lid side, you get to use phenolics of different types, micartas, G10s, Ultim, and so forth.
The world's your oyster.
Exactly. And so I've always thought it would be really cool to have a knife model that is only that construction with the thick back aluminum and then the lids. And so the Vero stuff is so fantastically built, and his designs are immaculate. And so I thought, you know what, I've had that in my back pocket for a while, that idea. Let's do that with this knife. So as these roll out, you'll see them come only in this format with the thicker aluminum, and then the lids, probably starting with a couple different themes of micarta, and then eventually, the whole 9 yards. And then using his really cool clip that's inset from the inside, super clean. I love the blade to handle ratio on this design.
I think it's one of Joseph's biggest strengths, is he gets you a lot of blade for your hand.
Yeah, there's just a psychological thing. When you look at a pocket knife and it's closed, your mind develops a sense of how much blade you're gonna get. And when you get more than that, it makes you happy. It just does.
Yeah, I think the Vero stuff all just makes me happy.
Yes, yes.
Have you seen his new driver thing?
We have them in the building.
They're so good.
Yeah, and the people, again, they're just fantastic folks. And so we're very excited about that. That's up and coming. And then kind of to our roots in that original discussion of the finer points turning into ProTech because of customer demand. We do so much stuff with police and military, and we've built those relationships so strong that some of our local law enforcement guys and gals will invite us out, and I feel honored to be there, but they'll invite us out to their different range days and things. And go ahead.
I've seen you on Facebook mag dumping Uzis and stuff.
Yes.
So
yes, when you get to do that in California, especially, right? and it's the well, I'll just say it. It's their ammo that we're shooting, and so that makes it extra fun.
Yeah.
And so going out to some of those events, we had people asking for something specific, and they said, look, we need a breaching tool. We need a first responder tool, an active shooter tool, if you will, that's somewhere in between a small pry bar or a hammer, but not quite a battle ram, something in between that we could strap on to one member of a team that they could have ready to go to get into different types of doors and windows and things. They kept asking for it, and we just told them, hey, look, that's not really our gig. It doesn't have a spring in it. It's not a folder. And they kept asking, and so we have, in fact, made something.
This thing's been mocking me from over there. I'm like, that is so different than any ProTech.
Very different. So some of them asked for a hammer type head, and then some asked for more of an axe type head, so you can grab that one, George, be careful. And we came up with a modular system. So this is 2 pieces, kind of like that lid on the Vero or those SBRs, the thick back and then a lid of steel. Those wedge into each other so that there's no pressure when you're doing the hammering on this edge. It's all held in here, and then with just 2 screws you can pop this off and have more of a beveled axe head. This is 100% an item that was demand driven, customers asking for it, sketching what they want on napkins, begging us to make it. And so these are the very first prototypes. The next step is that we will give some, actually next week, to the people who had asked for it. They're going to bash some stuff up with it and test it. And we'll go through some cycles. I'm sure there'll be some refinements and changes and all the rest of it. But a really neat, way outside of the ProTech normal realm. Again, because our good friends that are the most elite of all law enforcement professionals specifically asking for us to make something that they don't have.
Yeah. And one of the last things that I want to talk about is ProTech's deep patriotism and commitment to helping people. So I've been told a few times that, because we plan marketing out a few weeks or months in advance, hey, when's ProTech going to be here? And I'll go to the buyer and says, actually, we got bumped because some military unit needed knives. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have a lot of those customers, and it's always been company policy. It's been my passion that when those things come in, they always take top priority. And a lot of those relationships were forged by them asking for something, us stopping what we were doing, making exactly what they wanted, and then sending it. I remember one conversation with a East Coast weapons officer that turned into a very large contract for us. We sent him a prototype, and he called and he's like, is this the thing we talked about last week? And I said, yes, sir, it is. And he's like, did you guys stop what you're doing and make this? Yeah. And he's like, no one's ever done that for us before, is what he said. And my response was, I assumed everyone did that for you.
And I mean, he was equipping teams that are out, putting their lives on the line for our national security.
Yes.
We should prioritize them, right?
Always and forever. And again, another thing that I'm really proud of, my team in the office, they understand my passion about it, and they are also very passionate about it. And so, yeah, We love being the company that they trust, and we love being the company that they know without a shadow of a doubt will drop what they're doing for them. And whether it's a commemorative piece, like they have a special commander or someone who's about to retire and somebody forgot to put in an order, we call that a knife emergency. And we have lots of those. We're very, very good at it. We've had those type of things in the same day where we've customized it, laser engraved it, made a wood box for it, and they've picked it up and presented it that night. Yeah, and so it's our pleasure to know that our knives serve alongside with those brave men and women. It's a huge honor for us. It is definitely part of the fabric of the company.
Man, well, hopefully you can all see now why ProTech is one of our favorite companies here at Blade HQ, because you guys make a lot of really amazing stuff.
Thank you.
And they make it for you and for the people who serve our communities. And it's just such a heartwarming thing.
Thank you. And I really appreciate, it's myself and 40 people in our organization, in our company. And so we're still a very small, family-owned, family-operated business. Everyone in our 40 employees is like family. And the support from the customers allows us to do what we love to do. And so thank you very much for it.
Yeah. And if you like ProTech knives, Blade HQ is the place to get them. We'll carry as many as we possibly can, but as you heard, they're only a team of about 40-ish people. They can't put out 20,000 knives a day, but they put out as many as they can, and you guys buy them up really fast. So if you see a ProTech, is it good to say, like, if you see it, buy it, because you might not see it again for a while?
Absolutely, and we have so many models and so many variations, the likelihood of seeing that exact combination again, it might be a minute.
Thank you all for joining us. Get all these knives and more at bladehq.com, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.